If it sounds good and works all right.
YouTube stream?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm on the YouTube stream right now, and it's still that.
It's still what?
That you created.
Oh, okay. So, okay, it's probably just taking a second to go live. It's all normal. Just want to make sure that the mix is fine mostly.
I was going to say something else. But I was about to go.
If it sounds good and works all right.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the one thing about
I'm on the-
Necrodancer
Okay.
that frustrates me
Cool.
is,
That actually sounds pretty good.
good, cool, is that you can't, like obviously there's beats that you can do in between it, just within rhythm, you know, like if you want to do like a double time or something, and there's all these
Right.
different types of ways that you can stay on the beat and it doesn't go.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like a full-on like rhythm game in that sense where like we like switch it up. We really just try and do movement onto the beat. I think it's the music serves the roguelike elements rather than the other way around.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That was just something I've always wanted to be able to do, especially with like, especially when you get like tempo drops and it's like, oh, this is such a slog.
Yeah. Right.
Are those kind of environmental shifts in Cadence as well, like tempo drops and tempo up and all that sort of thing, or no?
Yeah. There's like we call them traps in the game. So like,
Oh, okay.
There's the whole game's procedurally generated, so you create a seed every time you start a new game. And you see on the screen right now, there's like tiles that look like fast forward and rewind buttons that are red and gray. If he steps on one of those, then the music will speed up and slow down.
Awesome.
Yeah, we all do that in engine on FMod.
And that's
Yeah.
so.
and-
This is procedurally generated, but still has Zelda type puzzles in it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a programmer, but they were pretty smart when they did it.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's
Yeah.
really something.
Actually,
Yeah,
Jeff, I
so
was.
Sorry?
Well, I was just gonna ask you about like the music integration for this, because the music is like, it's like perfectly on beat. Did you have to do anything specific for that, like the tying from music to like programming or anything like that?
No, it was that's all between the programmer and the composer, which is Danny B, the guy who did the Necrodancer soundtrack and the original Meat Boy soundtrack. He's
Legend.
also doing Industries of Titan right now with us as well.
He's
Awesome.
so good. Man, oh man.
Yeah, we had to. They had to deal with that kind of sync themselves, but as sound designers, it was really difficult to actually design sounds for this game because we had to not only make sounds that would trigger only on the beats, but we had to make them really short. We had to make very recognizable sounds of all the enemies that are distinct from one another. So like the little spider gomas would sound different than the goblins, and we only had like milliseconds to make that distinction. And same with like things like the doors. When you open doors and stuff, we use like drum sounds a lot. So because it triggers on the beat, it actually sounds kind of like an instrument. But a lot of our sounds in this game, we have hundreds and hundreds of sounds in this game, but they're really short sounds that have to be recognizable. So that was a really unique challenge.
That is interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I always struggle. I mean, that itself is such a big challenge, like having really short sounds and making sure that it like sounds good, because the tail is such an important part of a sound effect. As I learned, as Jeff made sure I didn't forget in that sound design contest.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to do stuff like this. Like I think it seems kind of simple because the sounds are so short, but I mean that's where the challenge actually lies.
Oh yeah, having a sound that cuts off short but doesn't sound like it's just hitting a hard cut seems like it would be the most difficult part of it.
Yeah. I mean, we cut our teeth doing the same thing for Necrodancer, right? So yeah, we just brought those sensibilities over for this game.
I was wondering. I don't know if I knew that you guys did the Necrodancer stuff also. I knew Danny B did, but I wasn't sure. Is this the same developer too? Then
same
for that?
dev, yeah.
That makes sense for
same
sure.
dev. So we did Necrodancer with Brace Yourself Games, and just through some finagling, I guess Nintendo took notice and wanted to form a partnership. So.
Well, that's an interesting thing about this too. Is like what a strange combination. Like I'm seeing Nintendo properties make their way into so many different things in the last couple of years that you wouldn't expect them to be a part of. This is definitely one of them.
Yeah, it's at first it seems like a really weird matchup, but I mean I've been playing Zelda games since I was like a kid, and I'm starting to realize that like a lot of Zelda games center themes around music. Like there's the ocarina in the Ocarina of Time. In the Wind Waker, you have like the conductor's baton. You're always playing tunes to like warp around or like summon Epona, your horse, things like that. And like obviously the Zelda music is a huge draw to playing the game for a lot of people. Like a lot of people can hum any number of tunes from the series.
Oh yeah.
So, I think once you get in that sort of mindset that Zelda actually does use music as a theme, the Necrodancer gameplay starts to make a lot more sense.
Yeah, that's true. And even the most recent Zelda, the Link's Awakening remake, like I've never played Link's Awakening before until this remake came out, but the whole game is like collect instruments and play a song at the end. Like Zelda is very musical for sure. I was gonna say too, like, do you know how this idea happened? I always wonder when I see stuff like this, like, is this something a person looked at and said, oh, well, this game exists in a dungeon, so does Zelda. Maybe we can combine them. And I kind of like reverse engineer the ideas, but I don't know where this stuff comes from.
Unfortunately, I don't know the Genesis too well about it, and it's because with my company, Power Up Audio, we're not like, we work with Brace Yourself Games, but we're affiliated with them, but we're not like officially like a Brace Yourself like component, right? So when we found out that we were going to do it, we had to keep that secret for like a very long time, and we were just as happy, just as surprised, and also just as curious as like how it came together. Like, I don't know, if somebody tells you you're doing a Zelda game, you don't really ask any questions.
Learn to take yes for an answer.
Yeah.
Ryan, where'd you go? What's happening here?
Can you not hear me?
Oh, the stream says it's been paused for some amount of time now.
Oh, you guys are on, hold on, let me make sure that it's, okay, is it up
There
now?
you go. Yep.
Yeah, it says that, you minimized the game, so.
Okay, gotcha. I was trying to look at this.
If you stay in the screen and don't get out of this game over screen,
Yeah.
what's really cool is that Danny has actually created 4 tracks for every single song, and this is one of the variations. So what we do in Fmod is that we have all 4 tracks playing at the same time. We mute 3 of the 4 tracks, so there's only one given song playing at once. And this is the game over music. Also the pause music. We actually crossfade out of like the regular song into this like 16-bit type version. So if you listen to this music right now, it sounds like a 16-bit version of the old world.
Oh.
Interesting.
Can you guys see this by chance? I'm just trying to like see the chat at the same time and everything. You guys can still see this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Good stuff.
And if you defeat all the enemies in a given screen, we play peaceful versions. So like we mute the regular and then we crossfade in a peaceful version of the song, which is like a much more chill version of the song. And whenever you see the shopkeeper, he starts singing along to the song.
That's awesome.
Danny had a lot of work to do. Every single song has 4 versions.
This?
Oh yeah, just pull up the full soundtrack on YouTube, and it's like a 5.5-hour soundtrack, which is absolutely bananas.
A ton of different versions, and we also do. I mean, like, how much should we like spoil in this game? I guess not.
I mean, I think it's. I think if you're talking about the development process, like I think it's. I'm okay with it, anyways.
Right.
It's
maybe not the game itself, but yeah, we do a lot of like variations of like songs and stuff, and yeah, he did like.
Oh my god, what just happened? What in the world? I don't know what is going on, guys. I'm sorry.
That was my fault. I kicked you out because the stream was frozen on my end, so I thought this is must mean leave stream, but instead
Thanks, dude.
Ryan. I should apparently deserve that sort of control over Discord.
Oh my god.
It's the boot Ryan button.
Oh yeah. No. You should do better.
Yeah, this is your game over screen. You're getting kicked out.
Yeah. You guys can see it again though.
It's sitting at the game over still. It's frozen.
Are you serious?
For me. There it goes. Now it's frozen.
Okay. Cool. I should be on. Okay. Hopefully it's not like lagging behind too much. Yeah. You can see it too, Jeff?
Yeah, it's like it is kind of not moving right now.
Yeah, right now it's
like it's kind of stuck. Yeah, it's frozen on.
Okay, hold on. Is it better now?
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, it's just because I I'm trying to. I wanted to show off. I just wanted to look at chat at the same time, but I just can't do that, I guess. So.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I should mention that also this game, since we're all looking at it, it was the art director for this game is Paul Beer, and if that name sounds familiar, Paul, like this is crazy. So Paul did this game, which is like an indie Zelda spin-off game, but he also did the art for Sonic Mania.
Oh, dude, Sonic Mania's art is amazing.
And he also
the
did
show, right?
No, it's like the Christian Whitehead like reboot Sonic game that you can get it on Switch. I'm pretty sure
That game is fantastic.
It released like a year or two ago. It was like the kind of the response to like all these new 3D Sonic games aren't very good, so let's throw it back.
Yeah.
So yeah, that Paul was also art director there.
Awesome.
And he also did Nuclear Throne, which is the Blackbeard game.
Yeah, Nuclear Throne is really solid too.
Sonic Mania is good because I think Ryan, you said there was a show called Sonic Mania that came out.
Yes, there is. There's a Sonic Mania show, and then there's also a Sonic Mania game. The show is very, very good. I highly recommend checking it out. And the animation on that is also very good. I don't know if it's done by the same person or not. If you've seen any trailer work or any of the trailers for Sonic Mania, and you see like the little like very cartoonized Sonic, it's
cool.
There's an artist that did that. I don't think it's the same one though. Is it, Jeff?
I have no idea.
You gotcha.
I didn't even know there was a TV show.
I don't even know if it's TV. I don't know if it's on YouTube, like all of the episodes.
Yeah,
so I don't know. It's a cartoon, right?
Nice.
But it's very good. I can't recommend it enough.
Cool.
There's no voice acting, so it's like weirdly better in a way.
Are you guys looking forward to watching that new movie, like the live action?
So
I'll probably support it. Just because of how much money they put into the redesign. It's like, yeah, well, let's make sure we see this and give them a reason to have thought that was a good idea.
Dude, okay, so here are my thoughts. Have you guys heard how bad Cats is?
Yes, oh yes. Yeah, a lot of fun with how bad Cats is.
My thoughts are that the new Sonic movie is going to be so like I feel like we got a missed opportunity. Like The Room and like Troll 2 and all those movies. Like
Yeah.
I feel like we could have had another one of those, but we said no, let's make a good Sonic movie. Let's try and make it better. And it could have been so much funnier if we had something bad.
Well, that's interesting too because there's a weird difference between things like that are just that are unintentionally organically bad, but not so insufferable that they're useless. Like Birdemic, for all points and purposes, is intentionally awful and not worth watching for that reason. But like The Room is just magically bad, where it's so strange in its terribleness that it becomes something everybody loves, and I feel like it's a really tough thing to like capture in a bottle.
Yeah.
And so I would think if Sonic original design was going to end up being like that, this new one might move it out of that realm, but not be good enough to be remembered. So it's just going to be sort of like fine, and that could technically be worse.
Yeah.
than if it was especially bad.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know where. I think it's just gonna depend. Like, I think mostly it's just the CG that was probably, I mean, obviously was bad before, I imagine.
Right.
But
yeah.
I mean, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm gonna support it though.
It's a bad movie for sure. I agree.
Yeah. So
this game we're playing.
Yeah. Anyways, Sonic is a video game. Yeah. I think I'm doing okay. How am I doing, Jeff?
I mean, you're all right. Yeah. you haven't really been in a dungeon yet. I think you're still trying to find one. You're close to that ice dungeon, at least.
Cool. There's a surfboard. Can I surf?
I wish, man. Do you are you guys big Zelda fans? Like, have you played?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I would ever call myself a Zelda fan, but that not from the perspective of not being one, because I've also played most Zelda games and enjoyed all of them.
Oh, cool.
It's like, oh, what is your top favorite game franchises? And it's like, top 5, and none of them have Zelda in them. And it would just be because it's like, oh, I forgot I really like Zelda. And I don't know, it's a weird relationship. But short answer, yeah, I'm a Zelda fan.
I would say I'm a huge Zelda fan personally. Like I Breath of the Wild is. I talk about Breath of the Wild more than any other game, and
Yeah,
that's very true. Yes.
I don't know. it's just, I don't know. I'm assuming you're a big Zelda fan since you're working on, since you were the one that worked on this with Power Up.
Yeah, huge into Zelda. So it was trying to recreate all of like the sounds and stuff. So when I was researching Zelda sound design more professionally for this project, I always thought that they read sounds from one Zelda to another, like it's the same rupee sound, from the Oracle games to Link's Awakening to Minish Cap or whatever, but they're different sounds for every single game.
That sounds much more Nintendo of them to have things like that.
Yeah, if you line up all of like the rupee sounds from every game, they're all very different. Which I thought was really weird because in my head I always sound. So in terms of like the liberties that I gave myself for creating a lot of these sounds, I tried to not copy as much as kind of like respect the sounds. There are some sounds that we tried to like emulate as closely as possible, though, like just as a challenge, but also because it was such like a cool, wacky, crazy sound that was so iconic to Zelda that we didn't want to mess with it at all.
Like what?
So, right in the beginning of the game, actually, you warp into like your cadence from Necrodancer, and then you fall into a hole. This sound.
Oh yeah, you're telling me about this.
Yeah, that's the sound that Joey Goddard, who's another Power Up audio member, he was put to task to recreating that sound. He's really good at like listening to something and recreating it. And he said that this was probably one of the hardest things he's ever had.
Yeah, you were telling me it took him like 3 days to do.
I would like to say 3 days. I think that makes for a better story. It probably took him less. It took him a long time to get that sound down.
You don't want to give him credit to be a better sound designer.
If you listen through it through headphones, it's like panned perfectly too. It's so nutty how he did it, and it's one of the standout sounds of the game for sure. So like, it's really interesting because most of the games that we do, they're not really part of a franchise, IP original indie games. So to think about what we wanted to recreate, what we wanted to respect, and what we wanted to completely design on our own was a lot of fun. Like those whiz robes that kind of pop out that you just defeated one. We have to create voices for all these creatures, and we were like, how do some of these creatures sound? We don't know what most of them sound like in the game. So like with the whiz robes, we thought it'd be really cool if they like squeak like little mice instead of like acting like having humanoid voices. Right? So we just gave a lot of our own little creativity just from being Zelda fans for decades.
That's so interesting. The concept of taking a sound that has existed in a franchise for years and years, and how it's always a little bit different, but it's still the same sound. Like the Rupee Collection noise, like you said, it sounds like in your mind it's the same sound every time, but then you listen to it and it's slightly different. And it feels like it seems like it would be really hard to do, to find like what do you focus on in terms of the core of the sound? Like, do you boil it down to a key progression, or like what's the theme for it?
It was also like the weird, like that death sounds also like from Link to the Past that we also had to like recreate. But because we were such big Zelda fans, we were extra hard on ourselves in creating this game and making sure that one thing that I designed that took way long, it all took me to the end of normal production of this game because I kept on kind of like refining it, was like the sound of those clay pots breaking. And it's such an innocuous sound, but the thing is that they're in every single Zelda game. Whenever you play a Zelda game, you're running for those pots, you're smashing them, and they give to me, they give such an iconic sound.
Yeah, I can picture it already.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're a Zelda fan, you close your eyes and like kind of hear that sound like clay pot crashing, and that it seems like such an innocuous sound that you just not spend too much time designing, but I redid it a number of times before I was happy with it, and I'm still not very happy with it.
That's a sort of an interesting follow-up question too. Is like, when do you decide I can't figure out what's left with this sound? It's not exactly how I want it to be, but I have to do something else now.
Sound design is like a microcosm of game development. Like a game is just shipped. It's like the same thing I feel with sound design, right? There's you can always kind of refine and work, as you guys know. The more you work on a sound, you stand a great chance of psyching yourself out.
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, I had a guy tell me once that perfection is the enemy of greatness, and I try to remember that a lot.
yeah.
When creating things, because if you tool something too much, it'll stop. It will eventually become worse.
Yeah, it was really cool deciding like which Zeldas we wanted to be influenced from, because there's like so many core games, right? And I do know that a lot of them have like a very different sound palette, right? Like Twilight Princess is a lot more serious than Wind Waker, let's say.
Yeah.
And the Game Boy iterations, even like stuff like Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass, like they pay a lot more homage or like throwback to like the Super Nintendo or like Nintendo Zelda games and stuff, right? So it was cool like deciding which Zelda games we wanted to be influenced by for the sound design. So for example, this seems like kind of weird, but like are from Ocarina of Time. They have like that kind of like woody percussive
Which ones? I think you cut out a
kind
little
of
bit.
sound. All of the UI, so like accessing your menu,
okay.
like going from like one page to another, right? Like selecting like start game, continue, things like that. Like that's all like from the influence from Ocarina of Time. Whereas like a lot of the enemy, a lot of like Link's own Foley sounds, like jumping up and jumping down, like drowning, falling into a pit of lava, like that's all from Link to the Past.
I was gonna say that if I had to pick a game to emulate off of for this game, it would probably be Link to the Past. And I'm not sure if that's just because the art style is similar.
Yeah, I actually find
what?
that the art style is really similar to Minish Cap, if you ever played that one.
Yeah, I was
Advance.
I was gonna say a mix between Minish Cap and Link to the Past, but it definitely holds its own on like in terms of like a style for a video game, in terms of like a Zelda franchise.
Yeah, if you make your way north, Ryan, you can get to like Death Mountain, and like you can definitely see that there's huge like Link to the Past elements once you get to Death Mountain. Yeah, we also Danny had like a really cool idea too. So if you use this loot, you can warp between all the Sheikah stones, and it plays like a little tune. And I'm pretty sure the tune is we got it from A Link to the Past. I think like in the Dark World, there's like a kid that plays an ocarina.
Oh yeah.
In the Dark World, and then it warps you.
Yeah, that's right. It's not the do. It's not that one, is it?
Yeah, no, it is, and that's the song that's a little jingle that.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was cool to like look back and all the Zelda games and be like, oh, let's pull this little thing from the Zelda game and like repurpose it and see if people recognize it or not.
Dude, I love how that Wizrobe looks. That animation is so cool too.
Yeah.
Which one's that?
I just killed it, but
Okay. I was gonna say, quick note from the YouTube chat is that Ryan, you are substantially louder than anything else via the YouTube stream.
check and tell me how the YouTube stream sounded.
Yeah, well, now I'm checking, and I'm telling you. You heard it here first.
But yeah, what was I gonna say? And then there was one. I was gonna say that this is actually just like a random fun fact, but I realized for the first time the other day that the you know the flute sound in Mario 3, like the warp whistle.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but that's the same warp whistle sound from the original Zelda.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that
It's interesting that you bring that up, because when you got a loot for teleporting in this, and I thought, oh, warp flute, I guess it just made me think of Mario 3, and then I basically just dismissed it as a talking point, and now here comes Mario 3.
Yep, there we go. Oh, man,
I love that
I'm
game
so bad at using the shield.
much. I'm a huge Mario fan.
Yeah.
For real.
I only recently realized I'm much more of a 2D Mario fan. I loved Mario 64, but I stopped playing Mario
Odyssey?
after that. I have a little bit, but my problem ended up being that I hated the Wii very, very much. And
Oh no, Odyssey's the Switch game.
Oh yeah, you're right. I was thinking Galaxy. Yeah, I played a little bit of Odyssey, and it was the first time I played a 3D Mario since 64.
Oh wow.
And it was really interesting to see how many of the controls were the same. I was like diving into N64 knowledge in terms of how to play a 3D Mario game.
Oh,
It's
doing like a
cool,
long
the
jump,
foot
right?
slam and long jump. Yeah, all the buttons were still the same. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I love the flow of like how Odyssey compared to 64, like Mario 64, because I think in Mario 64 you go to you jump through a painting and you collect the star, and when you collect the star, like the camera like swirls around Mario, he's like yay, plays jingle, and then you're kicked out of the painting.
Yes.
And I think that like it really disrupted the flow of the game, as opposed to something like Odyssey where you get a and it's like cool, you got a moon, like keep on playing this.
Yeah,
world.
I love that about it.
Yeah.
And
I'm getting rocked here.
So, do you have the snorkel?
I don't yet. I'm trying to get the money to. I was trying to get the money to buy it.
You can grab the, and what else you can do too is that if you wanted to try and show Chris this is when you pause the game, you can go to fixed beat mode. Just press R to system.
Options.
Yeah, go to options. And go to gameplay.
fixed beat, yeah, turn that on.
Or to appear. Oh.
Yeah, my thing just froze, so it's kind of just stuck.
No, I'm still seeing it.
I think
There
it's
it goes.
No,
There we
I
go.
just it's because I minimized it for a second.
It's my lame Canadian internet connection.
Oh, you guys finally get internet up there?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it only came a couple of years after we erected our first university.
But yeah, and so, but Super Mario World, Super Mario 3, I'll play World anytime it's available in front of me.
Yeah,
Anytime, like a drug.
I beat 3 just like the other month. Probably for like the 100th time. I just love playing that game.
Nice.
Apparently, it takes place on a theater stage. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, totally does.
Yeah, that's
like-
so cool. Never noticed
and
that until I like watched the YouTube movie or YouTube video about it.
Yeah, and then like in that first level when you can go onto the white block and duck, and then you drop
Right.
behind the scenery, it's like basically like a backstage mode thing.
Right.
And it's just, yeah, it's really interesting that that's how it exists.
Did you play Crypt of the Necrodancer, Ryan?
I did not actually. I played it. I think I played it for the first time when I met you at
Oh, okay.
West 2018 or 17.
Definitely with like Crypt players who play Cadence, that they like blaze through this game. I think the speedrun record is like 30 minutes.
Wow.
This game. Yeah, it's very. I mean, the game itself, like I think for first-time players, it'll probably take them maybe 5 to 7 hours. I think my personal opinion. Yeah. It's not like it's not like a very long game, but we have like a lot of modifiers and stuff. Like you can play as different characters. We just released like a patch a couple weeks ago where you can like play as the main bad guy, Octavo. We released like a dungeon mode in this game. We added all these like shrines and things that just increase the longevity of the game.
Nice.
It seems almost like directionless. Like just watching you jump around this little world map here, it's like there's just stuff everywhere. There's like, where do you go?
Well, I mean, he has to go. He has to go find instruments in 4 dungeons.
Yeah.
They kind of tell you that pretty briefly, but I think Ryan, I think he's trying to get money to get the snorkel, because if you see that mouth, that like cave mouth over on the top right, you need a snorkel to get up there.
Oh, okay.
And that's one of the dungeons. But you don't need to go to that one. You can try and make your way north. If you look at a map, you can try and see if you can get to Death Mountain, where another.
It's up here somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's up there somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm just like, there's like a lot to explore too. I'm realizing like.
Right.
Is it, and how much of this is, how exactly is this? It is randomly generated, right?
It is, yeah. It's randomly generated from the beginning. Like you get a seed essentially. So when you start a game, you get a seed, and the seed is just like the world randomly generated, but it stays consistent for your playthrough. So like Ryan, your world right now will stay this way for the entire duration.
Okay.
Of your playthrough, but if I start a new game, like in a file, I'll get a different seed. And it'll...
That's been one of the hardest things about finishing the game Chasm, is that I think it operates the same way.
Oh yeah.
And so when it's like, hey, where's this thing at? Everybody's like, mine's different than yours.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
Is that pretty common? Is that pretty much how the standard for how roguelikes work? Or I guess it would sort of depend on the type of game.
It would depend on the type of the game, because I know for I know there's no. I don't think there's any season Mega Dancer. I think it's just like every time like you like. So in this game, if you die in Cadence, if you die and you get resurrected, you get put back into the world is still the same. It's just randomly generated kind of once in the beginning. But with Necro Dancer, if you die and you go back to the dungeon, it's going to be different every time.
It is, yeah, absolutely. That's right.
So all the items are randomized too, then, like, or the like me getting the loot. That was like totally lucky.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you'll always have every game that you play in Cadence, but where it is randomized. So you could like, there could be a game where you could have found it like way later.
Interesting. Yeah, like Dead Cells, for example. That's more of a side-scrolling situation, so you wouldn't create an overworld in this way.
Right.
And so that one, I don't understand. I'm not sure how that would be. I mean, I guess the entrance to the first area is the same, but then the layout is different every time.
Right. Are you noticing like the little every time you move? Not every time, but like when you see like all the enemies have like a little tell before they start moving towards you.
Yeah, I am noticing that now.
Yeah, we did that with the audio too. So like when certain enemies notice you, we'll make sure that they give like an aggro sound, so you can kind of hear it cut through the music a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tell.
See if you can trigger one of those.
Trigger one of the.
Just
little-
make some
is-
enemies see you.
Sure,
and see if
hold
they're.
Yeah, like the lizard guy will definitely do it, but I think he's in.
Yeah, he makes a little yeah sound.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think that's my voice.
Now, for the sounds that you made in this process of doing so, like, I don't know, are they synthetic entirely, or is there like some Foley involved, or
There's a lot of Foley involved in these ones. Yeah, there's a ton of Foley involved. It's more like the non-diegetic sounds, like the ones when you warp, where we try and do synth.
Oh, sure.
There's things like, there's like warping out of a boss, out of a dungeon. That's also like a totally different sound as well. All of the, like getting a heart and stuff, like all of that stuff, non-diegetic, those are all kinds of stuff. And those, all of those ones were, I think, we got Joey to do this too. Like I said, Joey's so good at recreating sound.
That's funny.
We had a lot of fun. And there's things too, like for this type of game where, you know, unfortunately, you're not really playing this game for the sound design, you're playing it for the score, right, for the music.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that we had to really respect to not step on Danny's toes in. So like, there's not a lot of Foley movement for the characters themselves. Right? Like you won't really, and like, whenever he moves something like those little block tile things, like they're still very short, mixed super low. We didn't want people to get taken out of the music unless there was a dramatic event that would happen. So like when you died, for example, if you got, or if like a bomb explodes or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like when he's walking on the grass, like you can't really tell, but then you can still hear it when he splashes through the puddles and stuff.
Right. Yeah. We like, and it's still with like a game that is so musically driven. We still decided to create ambiences for the game too, because there's a lot of dynamic mixing in the game as well, where like you'll get kind of pockets of like silence or parts that aren't as busy, so we decided to still have ambiences. So if there was like any way to turn off the music in this game, it was really easy. But if you did, you would actually hear like forest ambiences, like ambiences, beach, caves, things like that. Ambiences are just like it's just such good practice to always have in every single game, no matter how dead that atmosphere or how little you can draw creatively from it is. It's such a good way to cohesively bring so many sounds together in their own ways.
Yeah, I think that like noise floor is like a really good, or just like having like a quiet, what your quietest sound is. And like I always tell people in our community that like if you haven't added like even just sounds for like the clothing Foley or anything like that on like any demo reels that they make, like it makes such a huge deal to add that kind of stuff.
Okay, so you're in Death Mountain now.
Oh, nice.
You made it.
I did it.
I was watching an episode of Real Talk that Kevin did. And one of the things that he brought up that I thought was really interesting, he was watching someone's demo and he said, It's really important to remember just to think about all the sounds that are happening even though you don't see them.
Right.
Yeah.
And this particular demo, or this one bit was a scene from, I think, an Assassin's Creed game or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was like a pirate ship, and some guy threw a veil and it hit a thing and it blew up. And he's like going through the video, and he's like, see, all through this section here, all you're focusing on is the fact that this little vial has been thrown, but there's still this whole world of sound that should be happening in the background behind it, and it's pretty empty. And it's like, you got to remember to think about what the environment's doing, even if you're not looking at it, because that's what builds a good, ambient.
That is a very good point. And like just filling like dead parts in with like little ambient sounds as well. Like we do that in Darkest Dungeon a lot too. Like the music when you're exploring in Darkest Dungeon is very like dreary and drab and very slow paced and also like very low in the mix, intentionally. So like we had to fill out the ambiences a lot in Darkest Dungeon to make sure that like it really felt like the environments were like worn, lived in, scary.
For sure.
We do like a cool thing in Darkest Dungeon where we actually change the ambience. We set a parameter to it, and it's. Have you guys played Darkest Dungeon? Are you familiar with it?
I have only heard of it. I haven't played it.
There is a mechanic in Darkest Dungeon. There's a mechanic in Darkest Dungeon called a torchlight mechanic, and it's you start with a full torch in the dungeon, and the further that you walk and deeper you go into the dungeon, your torch over time will start wearing out.
Oh, sure.
And when your torch is at full, the enemies are pretty normal, and they attack you normally, and your loot's pretty normal, and it's just like a normal experience. And when the torch goes down to 0, it goes down a quarter, so it's like 100%, 75, 50, 25 to 0. Once it's at 0, the screen is just like completely dark. The enemies are way stronger, but your crits are way more powerful.
Interesting.
And you get better loot. So you can modify how you want to play the difficulty by choosing to relight your torch or not light your torch.
I like that.
And what we did with the sound design for it, with the ambience, was that there's a forest area in Darkest Dungeon called the Weald. And when you're in the Weald and it's full torchlight, you hear just kind of normal foresty things. You hear frogs and birds, like the wind in the trees, things like that. And when you go to to 0 torchlight and you decide not to light the torch, we start putting in weird stuff and start taking out like the normal animals and start putting in weird, heavy, close breathing. We start like pitching down all of the animal sounds to make them sound really messed up.
I feel like I've played another game at some point in my life where the strength of the enemies around you and the number of them gets higher as the room gets darker, and I can't remember what it is, but that's a really great mechanic.
Yeah, we do a thing too where like in Darkest Dungeon very much. I don't want to distract you too much, Ryan.
Oh no, you're totally good. Keep going.
Darkest Dungeon is really influenced by like H.P. Lovecraft lore and stories, and I guess Lovecraft has this like Cthulhu mythos, and they have their own language that he made up. I think it's called Rihelion. And when we go to 0 torchlight in the Weald in the forest, we've actually found this like Rihelion translator on. So you type like a sentence and it translates it into like Rihelion language, which is all like it kind of sounds like that.
Yeah.
When you're at 0 torchlight, you start hearing the HP come in. We start triggering it randomly, but you only hear it at 0 torchlight. You don't hear it.
That's awesome, man. I really like that mechanic a lot.
Yeah, we always try and like change, like we try to make our sound design as dynamic as possible within the parameters of what you see or like game states. This Nintendo game called Mario Kart 8 does it super well.
Never heard of it.
So when you play Mario Kart 8 and you start the game, I think you go to the first screen is sort of like how many players? What do you want to do? Grand Prix versus battle? Yeah. And then after that you pick your character, I believe. Then after you pick your character, you pick your kart and like what kind of wheels you want. And after you do that, you pick the course. And if you listen to the music, they're adding instruments with like every screen.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
that go closer and closer to the actual race. So you can, you psychologically, you're kind of getting hyped up. Like the music is hyping you up more. Oh, nice.
Hey,
It's hyping you up more and more for like, for the race by like adding more instrumentation. And they do that like in their, you know, whatever Fmod WY's middleware that they do, or maybe it's their own engine, where they just have all of the tracks separated into stems, and they just mute most of them, and depending on what screen you're on, they just unmute.
That's perfect. That's such an elegant solution for what seems like a really complex system.
Right, and most people don't know it, right? Most people will play Mario Kart 8 and, you know, pick their players, their carts, their courses, and they not understand what's going on, or not notice what's going
Yeah,
on.
don't recognize it. Yeah.
Right, but it's still, like, I definitely think it has a psychological effect that is not supposed to be too explicit.
Yeah, I think about that a lot in game design when I'm playing games. Every time something like a cutscene or an area that's like hidden or secret, I always think someone really spent a lot of time on this, and so many people are never gonna see it because they skipped it or just didn't know it was there. And it's like, I really want to try to take this in because I feel bad for whoever spent hours and days and months on this one area.
Welcome to the world of sound designers, man. When we
No joke.
like Kevin did all the Foley for Madeline and Celeste, that 2D like side-scrolling game.
Kevin came on a stream pretty recently, actually.
Yeah,
did
he
he?
was on a month and a half ago or so to do. He did stream Celeste. And
It was
talked
it was
about
probably one of our
cool.
best streams, and we don't have an archive of it.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was
no.
because it was like we did one stream with Hollow Knight just to sort of test things, and then the next thing we did was Celeste with Kevin, and we didn't record it. We barely had any idea what we were doing, and it's like, it was a really, really good stream that's just lost to the ages.
But yeah, with Kevin did like some crazy stuff that nobody will ever notice in that game. So he did a lot of the like the running Foley and stuff. So like Celeste is mostly on, or I'm sorry, not Celeste, Madeline. She's mostly, you know, running on gravel, right, or snow or whatever. But there's like one part in the very beginning of the game you can like jump onto her car.
Oh yeah.
She jumps up and down, and Kevin designed a whole suite of Foley for walking on the car, and it only happens once.
Great.
And at the
And
beginning
it's
of
in
the
the
game.
beginning, and it's in the beginning of the game, and people
Yeah.
like mostly like nobody goes left in the beginning of the game. They just start going right.
Yeah, but, yeah. How many people? Yeah, how many people
Right?
do you think actually went back to walk on the car? And then after that, how many people actually noticed?
Right.
Yes, they made
Yeah.
car sounds.
Instead of like, well, I'm jumping on a car, so this should be the sound, and that's the only thought he gets. And
And yeah, we love to do things like that. We like to like, it's not really it's not a deterrent when we think, oh, if we do this, nobody's gonna notice. In fact, like that encourages us to like do it even more, and like it gives die-hard fans of the particular game we're working on like something to look forward to or like discover for themselves.
I know exactly.
Oh,
what
you
mean.
could have jumped over.
Yeah. I just realized that as I.
Oh, nice.
You're on your way to your first dungeon, and you created a shortcut now with that little.
Yeah, I sure did.
Yeah,
And then
because
you died, but you're all good.
I'm all
there's,
good.
you know,
What'd you say?
Can you pick up one of those things? Do you have enough diamonds? You do have enough diamonds.
I want to.
So
I'm
when
saving for the wide sword though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You could get another heart if you want.
Oh, that's an entire container. That's like not just a.
That's an entire thing, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Not like-
okay. That might be worth it, honestly. But that wide sword, it's kind of hard to not take that up.
Right.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll
like
see.
things like, you know, talking to Danny's super good. Danny is Easter eggs up the wazoo, right? So like with the loot, with that little jingle, we were like, how many people are gonna notice it came from that kid from Link to the Past, right? So it's little things like that that we actually really love doing in our game.
I totally get it. There's this argument you hear around in the air of the world about how like doing stuff for other people versus doing stuff for yourself. And so it's like, well, if you want to worry about doing something for other people, then you get all bent out of shape when they don't recognize this thing you've done. But if you do it just because you want to, it doesn't matter if anybody sees it.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
The God of War video that I did recently, there's a section in there where just at the end when we were doing Foley with like celery and cabbage and
Right. You
slime
did. It
and
was like
stuff
the
like that.
God of War video.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good video, dude.
Thank you. There's two songs that play underneath the Foley section are two songs from They're from Cuphead, and they are, and the titles of the songs are relevant to the part of the video they exist in, because one's like about flowers and the other one's about like slime or something. And it couldn't, nobody's ever, it's like the deepest, most pointless Easter egg in the world, but it's like I did that on purpose just because I was like, oh, that feels nice to put that in.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that like we really.
I really love that stuff a lot, and I try to do it all the time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, with every game that we do.
Even in like several years ago, I wrote an article on a car website for a buddy of mine. My friend had gotten in a car accident, so I just wrote this little article about like the unsung heroes of engineering that keep people alive and all this other like heavy stuff or whatever. But the title was "Attack in the Wall," and it was like it had a two-pronged meaning where, you know, it was kind of like, here's a hidden thank you note that nobody's going to see because it's on the wall, but also tack is thank you in Swedish, and the inventor of the belt was Swedish, and so it's like everything gets these weird little double meanings, and I just try to make it, you know, has many different things, covers many bases as possible, and I just like that. So there's just a lot of fun in it. It's like no one's ever said to me, hey, I totally see what you did here, but I don't.
Right. What are you supposed to do here? You're supposed to get to the other side of it. Can you bring up the map?
Yeah, I was thinking that I could bounce on something, but it's.
Read that sign, because you want to go up there to one screen over.
Oh, that's raises the bridge. Okay.
Why the switch that raises the bridge? Well,
oh, it's probably up there.
Yeah, it's probably up there.
So that thing explodes. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I've died to it 3 times and I still haven't learned.
I didn't know it exploded. It made me laugh, but that's great.
Yeah. It definitely didn't taunt me even more when you told me that it explodes after I die to it so many times.
Do you want like a little hint too?
Yeah, give me hints. Yeah, I would love some hints. I'm trying to like engage too. This is like
certainly no purist playthrough. Like,
have you gone to that cave that's on the left?
Oh yeah.
You've been there?
I thought I did. I don't know why. Yeah, I have. Because I got the spin attack. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Even in the non-music mode, all of the enemies still follow their music patterns. Like,
right. Yeah, but they don't move unless you do.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh, it's all over for you.
Yep. Oh man, I finally died.
There's another cave that you can access as well. It's to the right, and you need to bring a block down. Like, see that little cave over there? You need to like bring that block, push it off the edge.
Oh, okay. Up here, you mean? Oh, I see.
Oh, you can. Oh, go up there. Yeah, that wasn't what I meant, but this is where you need to go. Sure. Yeah, boom, and then go down. There's that switch. Also, you can move. Are you in fixed speed mode right now?
Say it again.
You are in fixed speed mode. So go back up. Make sure not to get. And you see how like the little spider guys, they actually stop moving for a second right before they move, and they always move diagonally. Okay, burn that trunk. No, that's too much.
Oh yeah, too late. Well,
because you would burn that trunk and then move that.
Yeah. Then move it to the left.
And then you get that heart piece. But now you can get to you're so close to that. I just have to cross that bridge.
Oh no! Can I?
You have to go through the other side.
Go through the other side.
Yeah, the other staircase. That's the right. You have to go in through there.
So
if you go into the cave and go out and you reach the blocks, then you're gonna have to go in through how you originally went.
I see. That makes sense.
Well, I see that those two connected slimes are very musically themed in terms of design.
I noticed that too. Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to do a lot of like musically themed art, and also with the names and stuff. So like some of the bosses have like are full, like their names are puns off musical instruments. So like
awesome.
The Gleeok is like a dragon enemy in the game, and we called them Gleeokenspiels in this game.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so yeah, we try to really lean the musical humor there. Fantastic.
How many different sounds did you have to make?
Sorry?
No, go ahead.
How many sounds?
Yeah, total number.
Total number. Oh man, I don't know. Probably probably in the thousands.
Oh dear. Okay.
Because, well, we're counting variations, yeah, for sure. Because,
Yeah,
like, this game has a ton of items. Like, you can finish this game, and I have, like, a ton of times. You can finish this game and not get all the scrolls, not get all the magic, not get all the weapons.
Yeah.
Also, we really don't like reusing sound effects. So, like, even with the slimes, we have different sounds for the different colored slimes because they do different things. And when there's, like, the turquoise, like, cyan colored slimes that, like, if you hit them, they get, like, smaller and stuff. Like, you have a totally new VO set for them. We even have sounds for, like, that dude you just killed, that, like, warthog dude with the spear. He has a sound for his little targeting reticule, sound for the spear being prepped, and he has a sound for the spear being launched.
So for like the slimes, for example, you have a red, blue, and green different slimes. Or I think there's red, but regardless, or whatever colors there are, do you use the same source for all of those?
I think we use the same. No, we don't use the same source. We use different sources depending on the size, because you're gonna get big and small. So we try to be. I think we probably, if I remember correctly, we do use some of the same elements for the purposes of continuity. So the slimes don't sound completely far apart, but like, yeah, we do record and use different sounds.
Are the sources themed to each one in some specific way? Like, I mean, they're just different colors, so I don't know how it could.
No.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like I said, it's just so
whatever
different
sound.
colors. So what is it gonna be?
Whatever sounds good.
Yeah. What is the source?
For the slimes?
Yeah, just any one of them, I suppose.
I think we did like really goofy, like we pitched down gelatin.
Nice.
For that one. Yeah, we did a lot of like pitch modulation for the slimes, because as you know, when you record things like gelatin, kind of like when you're recording like a basketball or whatever, it just sounds completely different than what you think it will. So
Yep,
there's a
all
lot
the
of
time.
processing involved. Ryan, you're so close. You don't have to.
So
beat those
I'm
enemies.
like, I'm trying to. I keep
Just-
like getting such into the conversation, and then it's like, oh yeah, shit.
Just
I'm not.
rip past it. Just go up the stairs. There you go. Oh man.
Every time.
I know, right?
You have to go through. Yeah, go cross the bridge. Avoid that. What? Nice.
Nice. There we go.
Okay. Oh no, I tried to.
Oh god.
I tried to shield.
Oh no!
I forgot that you guys are a little bit
So on
delayed
the
here.
very right, you see like the dungeon.
True. Okay, gotcha.
You could totally use your diamonds to grab that.
I probably should get. I'll get that extra heart next time. I'll do that. Oh god. They were not letting me through.
So for
We
track,
also themed the music differently for every section. So of course we have different for Gerudo Desert, for Zora, for the main world and caves and stuff. But Danny went a step further and wanted to theme by genre.
oh nice.
So if you listen to Death Mountain, like the track right now, it's all like hard rock, metally, which I think sounds like very appropriate for Death Mountain.
Because it's rocks.
Actually,
Death metal.
I've never thought of it that way. But that's hilarious.
Every
and
time
then
The game
for-
felt
just 'cause
bad
it
for
was
me, so it
rocks.
just gave me another diamond.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Hey, nice. For Gerudo, we did. So I'm going off axis.
There you go.
For Gerudo, because it was in the desert, we have like a Western theme to it. So there's like an acoustic guitar and like a dude whistling. The dude whistling is actually Kevin.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And that fits pretty well with the typical Gerudo Valley theme in other games too.
Right.
It definitely has that western ditchweed kind of tumbleweed kind of sound to it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you can go down and just hop.
Yeah. I keep on forgetting that it's delayed on your. As soon as you give me advice, it's like, oh, nope, I'm dead.
So close.
I know. I saw it though. I did see it.
And presumably, like tracks like this, you know, is all real instrumentation or a combination.
Right.
Or...
Yeah. So he got. I'm pretty sure Jules, Family Jules. He did the guitar work for this, and Family Jules also worked with us on Necrodancer.
Awesome. All right, if you get blown up by that thing in the beginning again, I'm leaving.
Oh, you got one square closer.
I know. I'm just not being patient enough, honestly.
Yeah, I think you
There's
have
a
to.
huge problem with a game like this. Necrodancer has the same problem. It's like I keep losing my tempo because it's like,
It's
no, just
very
let me
easy.
run.
Yeah, it's really easy to kind of like, not necessarily shut your brain off, but like do the same kind of over and over again. It's sort of
Time
like
to leave,
playing.
Chris.
I'll see you.
You're actually always doing the same thing, and it's taking away a heart and a half.
Yeah.
Get that. All right. There you go. Okay. Okay.
Oh, do I have to have the zapping?
Why
zap for
bother?
this?
Keep going. Okay, you have to go up those stairs. Yes, get up there. There's a Sheikah stone, so you can respawn there if you want. So you can always back away. Like you can hit him once, and then he's gonna telegraph his hit, and then just like, oh my god, can't believe you did that. That's crazy.
Oh, I escaped. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is an example of the peaceful track that Danny did. There's no enemies in this entire screen, so the music is really subdued, very quiet. But what's playing is like the kind of like the rock version. Underneath it's just muted right now. And if you go to an area with enemies, then we'll mute the peaceful version and unmute the rock version.
If I can interrupt. If I can interrupt for a second, we have a pot here.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. There we go.
Dude.
I just wanted to hear your pot sound. Sorry.
You know what? I actually like that pot sound. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, no, it is a good pot sound. I like it too. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry. It was very impressive.
12 variations at random.
Is it really?
Nobody's gonna. So now it's like the rock version. You can tell. And then you can hear Freddie Merchantry singing because you're near a shop.
Freddie, what's that?
His name is Freddie Merchantry, like merchant, like he's. Like a
Oh yeah,
shopkeeper.
no, I don't. I got
I heard you. Yeah.
top dollar name.
Yeah, that's a great name.
Awards and stuff.
Freddie Merchantry.
So
if you go through the door, you can see him. If you go through the door on the left.
Oh, the secret ceiling.
No,
man.
no,
I
not
forgot
there.
about him.
There we go. Yeah, there's the dude. He's from Necrodancer too.
So for an enemy like the big hand that comes out of the ceiling,
Oh right. Did
what
the
kind of?
hand come out?
Yeah, that
It
was
did a
a
little bit ago. Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
What kind of like thematic situation do you use for that? Where do you start? Because the slimes obviously, well, I'll just make something goopy and you go the gelatin around. But if like you've got a hand, where does that come from?
I think we studied the hands. That the hands are in a lot of Zelda games.
Mm-hmm.
Studied was the ones in Link to the Past, I believe, are silent. But the ones in the forest temple, that's the first temple you encounter when you're an adult in Ocarina.
Yeah.
They do just like a falling sign, which is like that.
Yeah.
So what we do is we just get like the animation. It's always going to be the same length of animation, right? Between it's falling from nowhere into hitting the ground. It's always the same length of time, and we just design a sound to suit. And I think we just did the falling sign.
Cool.
Sign being S-I-N.
Yeah.
So like another like example of us really respecting Danny's music too is that like we don't have loops for a lot of things. So like usually we'd want to loop, but we don't. They only trigger a sound when you get blown by them a square over. You hear like a kind of like that. Other than that, you don't hear them at all because if you were to hear them, it would take away and detract from the song, right? And that's not what you want in a game.
That's totally true. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really our job to like. It's really our job to like not.
You're supporting.
To not get. Yeah, exactly. It's not my job to be like, hey Danny, like, can you add like this type of instrument, or like maybe you should go for like a flat in this note or whatever. Like, we don't give creative feedback too much. I think that's really up to to Danny and the creative director or the producers of the game to come up with. As sound designers, what we do is we ask Danny how he wants to trigger his music, and then we make that happen. Because I would say, the majority of composers don't really practice or go into Fmod or middleware too much. So it's our job to like make sure that like whatever they want is done.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty. I mean, how would you feel if someone like, I mean, maybe not Danny, but like, have you ever had a project where you worked with the composer, or had the composer wanted to work within Fmod rather?
No.
Yeah, that's really funny. Do you think you would prefer that?
That's a great question. Do you think I prefer to have a composer? Actually, you know what we're doing? That's not a good example. So your question is, would you prefer to have a composer like do his stuff in Fmod?
Or would you rather would that support help you?
I don't think it would help us too much because if he could do it, if they can do it themselves, then they probably do wouldn't even all, and it would cut down on our time on a given project. We don't have to do this large component. But I think as a team, we really like working in middleware and problem solving and doing things in middleware to make things happen. So like the act of implementation is very attractive to us.
Yeah.
And it also like makes us feel more closely connected, communicate better.
To be honest, that's like one of
the toes.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things for me working with Fmod and working with the game is like that, or that's one of my favorite elements that I just feel so much more connected, like you said.
Right.
It's really not fun. I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of sound designers are. I think that more than 90% of sound designers that work in games are probably in the dark in terms of like how their end result is going to turn out. But I mean. In one sense,
I think it's that high.
I was just gonna say that like having more control, like I think it gives you so much more control over what your stuff sounds like, and it's
right.
It's an I mean, you can look at it as an opportunity cost, but it's really like a quality kind of thing.
I think something has to be said for like the composer relative to their song when they're creating it and composing it, but it is. In my opinion, up to we're the sound designer or the audio director, anybody who's implementing, it's up to them to take the mixed song, the relative mixed song that the composer did, and then mix that against all of their sound design.
Yeah.
Right. So I do think that that's so I think to answer your question, I would like it better if composers stayed out of that one.
Fair. That's fair.
I just think the collaborative effort is like that. It kind of makes us talk without stepping on each other's toes. Because we're not saying to Danny, hey, here's some creative things. Here's some compositional critiques I have to do. We're not saying that at all and forcing a collaboration that way. Instead, we're forcing a collaboration through a technical means and showing creative collaboration through that technical means.
Yeah, I dig that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say that the vast majority of composers that we work with in the industry, they like our position that we have because we stay out of their hair, we respect their music, and we get their stuff in the game and sounding the way that they do now.
Yeah, I think that. And also, you guys are Power Up Audio. So I'm sure that helps that a lot.
I just also think that, like I briefly mentioned earlier, a lot of composers don't really middleware. I think their composers are very, from what I've experienced, they really want to focus their all of their energies on creating a song, right? And creating context, telling the story with the song. A lot of them don't really want to be mired in the technical aspects of putting it in a game, which I totally respect.
Yeah,
right. Just because you're a game designer doesn't mean C programming. Like that's why you have a programmer to put your ideas in, right? It's the same sort of relationship, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a really good comparison. Huh. So do you? How do you feel if? And I think this is probably for the vast majority of. I don't even know how many people are listening to this, but like for anybody that is listening, how do you feel if the programmer of the game? Well, I guess it's kind of the same thing. I was gonna say, how do you feel if the programmer had access to F? But I feel it's probably the same thing.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. Programmers, I think, love F because all the stuff that we would tell them to do otherwise, right? If we're like, hey, can you set a distance parameter to like these sounds when you get further away from it, or can you randomly trigger like one of these 9 sounds? Put a priority system in place for the voices. Like Fmod just kind of does that already in like a graphical user interface that like makes a lot of sense to us, and it takes those tasks, which are, I think they're kind of considered, unless you're like a huge audio nerd, for programmers, considered kind of redundant. They'd rather be focusing on other things, right? You know how audios always last in a pipeline.
Yeah.
Right? Like taking that responsibility off like the programmer, and so they can focus on other things that need programming tasks addressed. I think they really like that part of that respect because it allows the sound designers to do the sound design job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's actually one of probably our biggest selling points whenever we're trying to land a contract gig, at least, is just saying like, hey, yeah, we program the sounds in our game in the games ourselves.
Yeah, you do everything, right?
Yeah.
As much as we can.
As much as we can, right? That it goes a long way too. I think like anytime that I think every time I've mentioned that, they're like, oh, that sounds really nice.
Right. Yeah, and it's really funny how I wouldn't say all developers for sure. I wouldn't even say most, but like there's some developers that like, you know, we've had interactions with, and they're like, so you can do like everything in sound design, right? And like we've had to put ourselves to be in that position to do like not only like the creation of the sound, but like the mix process. We have to be directors in the voiceover recording. We also have to be like like cast and schedule and engineer the sessions as well. Put them in the game, mix them, QA them, everything. And it's like an assumed position in the industry that like a sound designer would do all of these things. But like if you look at the art side of game development, your concept artist is not your animator, and your animator is not like your cutscene artist, right? And that person isn't even like your rigger for like your 3D texture or your you know, whatever other, you know, many positions visuals do have.
Hey, Jeff, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yeah.
Which one should I choose?
That's up to you, man.
I was gonna say, based on previous Zelda games, the boomerang is always the secret strongest thing you can get.
The secret strongest thing.
Oh right, if I'm speedrunning this, I gotta get the boomerang. I'm gonna get the boomerang.
Well, like even in Link's Awakening, like the number of things that you can kill twice as fast with the boomerang is like, why? But okay.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we all know I'm speedrunning this anyway, so.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh yeah. AGDQ is going on in Orlando this year.
They did Cadence this year, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's right.
Not
Yeah, it was
too
me
long
that was
ago.
speedrunning it. This is the speedrun at AGDQ right now.
It'd be awesome if you just like piped the feed in and pretended you were playing it.
Oh,
Have you guys
they would hate me.
did you guys catch any of the games done quick this year?
No.
I usually watch. I never watch the stream, unfortunately, or sometimes I watch the stream. I usually watch it.
Like the highlights when people talk about it.
Yeah, like Super Metroid is my jam. The
Yeah.
race. Oh, so fun.
Yeah. Are you a Metroid fan?
Yeah, dude. Okay, so I'm a big Metroid fan, but I've never. I haven't. I don't think I've ever beaten one though. Like I'm a huge fan of like
really?
the aesthetic in the world and all of that, but.
Yeah, Metroid, like Super Metroid, I played when I was like 11, I think,
Okay.
like 10 or 11 when it came out. It must have been, what, 95, so I was probably 10 or 11 years old, yeah. And like, I felt my brain grow when I was playing that game. Because it's just like, it was just this, it's so immersive. and
Fast.
it blew my mind that I was like, I felt like I was, and how the gameplay style, which is like what is now coined as like the Metroidvania genre or subgenre at least, like it was just so new at that time, and just being able to revisit a place once you get a new ability and reach that door that you couldn't before. It was just like, I don't know, it was so cool back in the day. And that's the closest I got to ever speedrunning any game, was when I was like 11 years old. And if you beat the game in under 3 hours, you can see like kind of a hidden ending where it's like Samus without her suit. It just shows up at the end and says congratulations. And that's like the closest I ever got to speedrunning.
I love the speedrunning community so much. We talked about this when Kevin was here too.
Oh yeah.
Like just, I don't know, man. There's so many. Speedrunning is just insane. Like the way that people can manipulate a game. I mean, because games themselves are like its own creative art form, like to play
Right.
them even. And I don't know. Hearing about the Celeste stuff was insane. That how I guess Matt did all of the how Matt like left in a bunch of stuff from the game, from Celeste, because
Right.
it like how he left in a bunch of stuff from Celeste because like he wanted
It would
to,
make
like,
speedrunning more interesting.
Right, exactly. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was like, it's the very definition of like, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Right.
So when we were in development of Celeste, yeah, there was like a lot of things that I think even Kevin was discovering and telling Matt about it. Do you want this to be in the game? We can like super jump from one end of the screen to the other. And Matt's like, yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
that was, and if you watch Celeste speedruns, like people do all of these like weird glitchy tricks that they're like, yeah, like we discovered this, like it was totally left for them to find.
I think he had Chris do like one or two of them. Like,
Yeah, he taught me one where you, like, if you've got a corner, a 90-degree where there's spikes, you jump up, catch the corner of the wall, and
Right.
live as long as you jump away from them,
Yeah.
which was really sweet.
Yeah, Kevin playing Celeste and all the Celeste speedrunners, it's very fun to watch. It's like a very fun speedrun. Because some of the speedruns are like pretty arduous too, right? Like somebody's like, I'm gonna beat Final Fantasy 8 in like 8 hours.
Yeah.
Like I love that game, but like I don't know if I could watch 8 hours of that.
I don't know, when I was still working at Amazon, there was a period of time where I was doing a lot of sets and strikes for the AV team. So I go in a room and it's like, I've got 3 hours now to set up this classroom with these power runs and stuff. And I would usually set up, throw a playthrough up on from YouTube or whatever. And I watched Vine Sauce stream. I watched him do all of Chrono Trigger, and I watched him do almost all of Chrono Cross before I stopped having to do that.
Oh wow.
It was like, yeah, it's just 8 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours streams at a time, and it's like,
I think
I don't know,
for
really
the older like Super NES RPGs, I think I'd be more down to watch the whole thing.
yeah.
Also, like Chrono Trigger is a big part of my childhood.
Man, Chrono Cross, that I haven't played it since it was relevant, and just watching him play it, it's like, God damn, they talk too much in this game. There's so much dialogue. The script has to be like 400 pages, like.
and like weird outfits too. Just,
Oh,
like, the
yeah, well, yeah.
strangest outfits in that-
Weird and
that
so
game.
many characters, like 30
Yeah.
characters. It's like, who? Why?
And they all have belt buckles, not on their hips.
Yeah, or they're like furniture, or
What is that giant? Or that Lynx? Is his name Lynx? It's like the cat with the pirate suit.
oh boy,
Right? You know what I'm talking about, right?
mhm, yeah, because he's on the
Yeah.
cover.
Yeah, he's like. Yeah, my RPG knowledge only covered. That's
Yeah,
like my
he's the same.
favorite.
He's the main antagonist. His name's Lynx.
My favorite genre is RPGs. I love them so much.
Same, you and me both.
Over Christmas, this is gonna sound weird because Dragon Quest 11's out and everybody's raving about it. It's out on Switch,
boy.
11S, like the definitive edition. I actually spent Christmas playing Dragon Quest.
I when I was a kid, I had Dragon Warrior for NES, and
Yeah.
I did not love RPGs until FF7 came out.
Did you get Dragon Warrior free with Nintendo Power?
I don't think so. I just had it. It just was part of my life in a way that I have no explanation for. It just
That's the one that I beat. That's the one that I beat over Christmas, right? Dragon Quest.
Hated
Dragon
that
Force, the same one.
as a kid.
I mean, it
had
doesn't
no
age.
idea.
It's just straight up. If you're not level 21 at the end of the game, like you just
I wasn't
have to
even
be-
close. I didn't understand how to play that kind of game at the time. I was like, what am I even supposed to be doing? I'm walking in circles. I keep fighting this slime. I don't understand.
Right.
I don't understand. And then I just would go back and play turtles and stuff. And that's it. It wasn't, yeah, I didn't. There may have been RPGs in my life before Final Fantasy VII, but
I think you were just like
No, but-
probably like too young
Probably,
too, right? Like
yeah.
I was too young as well. That's what this cat is to get like a better moment. Like you can actually see there how so many games actually got influenced from Dragon Quest. Like
oh, I bet.
Dark Souls is like so much of what Dark Souls is owed to Dragon Quest.
Interesting.
Because in Dark Souls, you never get a game over. You die, but you always resurrect in like the last bonfire. And
Yeah.
you lose. You don't like. You lose, but like, you even though you can regain your experience and like your money and stuff. Yeah. What happens with money when you die? You just keep it.
I think
To
it's,
stay.
as far as I know, it ends up where you die and you have to go get it.
That's. I thought that was just Souls though, isn't it?
Oh, that might be. I don't know.
Money?
I don't play the Dark Souls games.
Money. Maybe you keep anyway. It's not really.
Quest?
It's not too important to my point, but yeah, in Dragon Quest 1, that came out in 1998 in America, in that game, when you die, you never read the game over screen just like Dark Souls. You actually just resurrect back in the castle, and they're like, hey, you can keep all your experience, but we've halved it. Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's actually like, you can tell that like a roguelike, like Dark Souls probably got that idea either from like Dragon Quest or from games that were inspired by Dragon Quest. Wow. And there's also something that Dragon Quest 1 does that I think is so cool, is that in the beginning of Breath of the Wild, after you pass the Great Plateau, I think that's what it is, that beginning area,
Yeah.
and you finally get that little cloth, and then you sail down. The first thing that it says in your objectives is defeat Ganon.
Oh yeah.
That's it. It isn't like go to the fire temple or like try and find a giant camel. Like, it doesn't say any of that. Defeat Ganon, and pretty sure how they design is like where you land when you get off the Great Plateau and you're in that vast open space. One of the first things you see is the castle in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
And in Dragon Quest, again, a game that came out 21 years ago or something, when you first start the game and you exit the castle, the first thing you see is the castle you're supposed to go to. You see that, like,
I remember the castle.
The
I remember
final
exactly.
dungeon.
Yeah.
You see the final dungeon, and like, there's like a river in the way, and then you just have to basically walk around and try and find items that get you to that castle. But like the objective is right in front of your face, just like in Breath of the Wild.
I would love. I don't know. I was always such a Final Fantasy fanboy that I never even bothered with Dragon Quest. It was like, yeah, that's for other people. Stuff, you know? Yeah, I've never played any of them, and it's like it really seems like to me that I should, especially.
Oh, dude, definitely some of the best stories, best RPG, like mechanics, like it's comfort food, Dragon Quest. And
I could
11
use
is
the new
11 is very good. It's super strong. It's very awesome. 5 is like one of the best RPGs I've ever played, JRPG or otherwise. 5 is just very, very, very good.
What system is 5 on?
You can probably the easiest way you can get it is through the DS or the phone. I think there's a phone version, and
Ugh.
you don't have to defeat all those dudes, Brian. You can actually go to where the arrows come in.
Oh, okay.
I think he wants that chest.
I do want the chest, but
He's a loot monkey.
Just ahead.
I will say I did get this really awesome item that allows me to pierce through
Yeah.
stuff. So those things just die immediately now.
Yeah. With this game, once you get, there's like a subset of like weapons, and it's all randomized, right? So it's not like they do it on purpose, but there's a certain subset of items where like when you get them, they make the game substantially easier.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and this is one of them for sure. So I'm glad you got that. So now you got a key. You can find a locked door in this room. and then that'll probably take you to a boss, not like a mini boss fight. Yeah, so I think the arrows are telling you where to go.
Oh no! Oh god! I didn't even see him. He was just sneaking down below there.
Yeah, the Final Fantasies, I still count them. I even play like the spin-offs. I played like Type 0. I played all of the 13s. Like I'm currently in the middle of 13.3 right now, Lightning Returns. Like even the ones that like aren't critically acclaimed, I'll still play.
Yeah.
If it's got like a Phoenix down in it, like I'll play it.
That's man. You know
Just see that in my inventory. I just want to play it.
You know how many times I've wanted any other game to give me the option to kill undead enemies by healing them?
a single Phoenix down.
All the time. I love it. Dude, I totally agree. All the PS1, I was diehard back in PS1 days. I played every Final Fantasy I could get my hands on up to 11. I played 11 quite a bit, but I played solo, and it was not a good game for solo play.
Right.
And then I played 12, and 12 was the first one I played and did not finish.
Oh, really? You didn't like it? I actually, when it first came out, I didn't like it, but now the HD remaster, they have like the ×4 or the ×3 speed.
Oh, nice.
It makes it so much better. Like so much more accessible. So like I was able to beat Final Fantasy 12 remastered in like 30 hours.
That's great.
Yeah, which is
I was also well off the wagon at that point in terms of gaming. Like the
really?
the PS2 era, I was in a position where I was almost about to just not. I was almost like, well, I think I probably just have to do this stuff. And then when the PS3 was announced, because I was such a console boy at the time too, it was like, okay, do I find a way to pay for this and stay in this as a hobby for the foreseeable future, or do I decide that this is when I give up on it?
Right.
And I got one eventually, and it worked out. But
nice.
And so it was one of those things where
PS3 doesn't have a ton of turn-based JRPGs though. Have you noticed? All of their
really thought about it.
All of their RPGs are like kind of like, or they're not like completely turn-based.
Yeah. Speaking of turn-based RPG, we're currently working on a turn-based Battle of the Bands RPG called Death Bulge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's music themed, and to go back to the sort of what we were talking about earlier with dynamic music, like one of the things that we brought to the table as the sound designers for that gig, I was like, well, since the main party is 3 characters and each one of them plays an instrument, and their instrument is their weapon, you've got a guitarist, a bassist, and a drummer, why don't we have all of the stems for the battle music be controlled by the characters in the game? So, if one character dies, their instrument drops out of the battle music. Right. And then all of the different status effects and stuff affect the way the battle theme plays, depending on which character it's involved with. And so,
you can also create stems so that when it's like their turn, make their instrument a little louder.
Exactly, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So and there's another effect that I noticed though, and which is what I'm trying to work into like the dynamic mix, is that whenever they do an attack, they do it with their guitar and it plays a little riff. But because of that, we have to lower the volume of that specific instrument because it'll clash with the mix otherwise.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. Like I would love to like be able to like do the like it makes sense to like raise the volume obviously, but like I just don't know if we're gonna be able to do it. We have to test it a little bit more because I'd like to get the former version to work where we just raise the volume of the instrument, but we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, in F1 you can also do you can do snapshots too, where you can like cut certain instruments and cut certain parts of the mix too.
Actually,
snapshots are pretty intuitive for stuff like that.
Yeah, one thing I am running into actually, maybe you might have a solution for this actually. I'm trying to, yeah, perfect timing in the middle of the stream. Oh, that's how that works. Okay, so I can just put that there and it'll avoid it.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Nice.
So can you do? I have yet to experiment with this, but can you do snapshots on individual tracks of an event?
I'm not actually sure.
Yeah, it's something that I think needs to happen though, because if the entire music track, if we need to just mute the guitar, for example, then we need
Well,
to
you
be
can
able
make a snapshot of the whole thing, of like the whole event, and then just have that guitar muted snapshot.
but
So
even though that
like a state.
yeah, might. But wouldn't it also? But wouldn't you not be able to do that because it's a track and not the guitar isn't an individual event itself? Or are you saying that make the guitar an individual event?
No, you'd be doing it. I mean, I'm the least in F1 in like my entire team, so this is probably something that
Sure.
Joey can tell you. But I'm pretty sure you can, like, if you wanted to just you just have the exact same event, but have the guitar muted, make snapshots of that, and then have it trigger like A and B.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I think.
Yeah, I'll give that a shot. Ooh, I got the boss key.
Get that?
Oh, yep, you
There
sure
we
did.
go. Yeah, we're like delayed by a tiny bit.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
you have to
noticed that.
move. Yeah, you have to move to. There we go. And you can probably no. You have to go from the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get that heart, which I would highly suggest you do. And once you get that boss key, you can.
No.
Okay. Oh!
So how do I?
And if you get that heart, you'll refill all of your heart.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
how
you
I
have.
do it. I go downwards one.
There, yeah,
Well,
you burn a turn by hitting. Correct. Oh, you
Like
can go
that.
down those stairs.
I think-
to the right.
Okay. Oh yeah. Dang, this is a cool game.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was hoping to get a hold of it before we did this, but I did not, and I'm definitely going to.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna do the sound of the boss. Favorite sounds.
These are your
Oh,
favorite
I was
sounds,
going to ask
said?
you earlier what one of your favorite sounds. What's your favorite sounds on the guitar?
Boom.
That sound.
It's just
there?
like, yeah, it's like just a super heavy door sound we have, and
It's a good thing I talked
Dang.
over it.
yeah, no, it's fine. Oh, no, this is the glockenspiel. There you go. So that's a Cabo. He's like the bad guy.
You can tell he's bad by his emo haircut.
Yeah. You really could.
Oh man,
And that's one of the instruments that you need to grab.
I see.
And all of this, and even though the UI that we have from Ocarina of Time, the text UI for advancing, opening the windows for the text.
Ooh.
Hold on, that's Link to the Past.
Oh,
That's
nice.
also, that sound is also, I think that's Ocarina or Majora's Mask. I think it's the thing. Yeah, this song is so good.
Oh wow.
So we do have a glockenspiel in this music track, and depending on how many, the glockenspiel changes.
Nice.
Also, we do a thing where we do like a weird kind of like wavering sound effect when you die, as you probably heard a little bit there.
Hey.
It kind of pitches down a tiny bit, does a trill.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. The Yeah. No, I like that. That's when you get hit, right?
Right.
Yeah,
When you
yeah,
wait,
okay.
when you die from getting hit.
Sorry, I was in the middle of a thought when you said that. So how do I know which items stick with me and which ones?
You pause the game, and you're brought up to like your little Zelda menu.
Yeah.
There you go.
But like
Those
if
are the
I,
ones that stay with you.
well, I mean like the cheaper shops thing up here, for example.
I think the rings break on you.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm getting the right thing. That's cool. One thing that I'm trying to like get better at is like definitely like a lot of like the plugin usage within the Fmod. Like the pitch shifters in particular are like kind of wonky in Fmod sometimes.
And you just have to be careful as well of eating up too much CPU too. If you're just like,
Oh yeah.
if you're just like offloading like a bunch of plugins. We, as a rule of thumb, if it's not plugin stuff,
You cut out.
like processed into like the sound itself.
You actually cut out. I think you said.
Oh, yeah, because like we have to be really careful at CPU. I mean, audio takes a lot of space anyway, so
Right.
we don't want the game to like slow down or be or suffer from it. So like, yeah, if we can help it, we try and do a lot of like our processing like in the sounds, like bake them into the sounds themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. But for something like the
So yeah, for
separate
the
sound.
damage and the pitch going down, I actually the programmer Oliver did that. He does that in Engine, which would actually save on processing power a little bit as well.
Okay, cool.
Because you're doing it kind of straight from the source rather than doing it rather than triggering a plugin that's in the middle of the thing.
Makes sense. Nice.
Oh. Yeah, I love this song so much.
I like the thematic.
You can hit it from the side too. Yeah. Okay. Oh, you have 6 hearts. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're beside them, beside the head like that, you can still hit them. Oh man, this is a good run.
Yeah.
Oh. No.
Oh man.
Nice.
So yeah, I lost it, but
Oh no.
I understand.
You're
now. I
getting
think it's better to
closer,
just
though.
like take one out at a time for sure.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And then you have to beat the body after, so you're not quite done if you defeat all the heads.
So did he do like the processing? Did he like use the Fmod API in Unity to do that pitch shifting?
I don't think that he did. And we and this is not a Unity game.
Oh, right, sorry. Yeah, and
Oh,
I know
Right.
everything's Unity Shoes game. I think it's their pretty sure because we made Necrodancer. So a lot of the mechanics and stuff were in.
I love how a part of this song sounds just like an tip from Genesis.
Yeah.
Hidden there somewhere, and I love it.
Yeah. That's Danny's wheelhouse for sure.
Big time.
I'm just very into this.
Good, yeah.
Okay. Remember, you're in fixed speed mode, so you don't have to.
I don't have to rush it. Yeah.
Yeah. Take your time.
Oh,
Oh.
I'm not trying to. Oh, because that's the last spot I can go in.
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh, his whole body's
Nice.
a glockenspiel. Oh, I love it.
yeah.
Oh, dude, this is so cool. Oh,
Don't
and
be
his,
in the
oh, and
water
his
when he
tail
fires
hits it
them.
with his. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so awesome. Yes.
You did it?
Yeah. I spoilers, but yeah.
Okay, listen to this sound.
All right.
When you get
Hold on, I gotta get
when
my.
you get the glockenspiel. So we have there's like the sound when you get the glockenspiel. It plays like a sound whenever you beat a dungeon boss in Link to the Past. But we actually, depending on what instrument that you get, that's the main instrument that plays in this stinger. So in this case, it would be you'll hear a glocken.
Nice. Just 1 second.
Go for it.
Okay. Just getting on my. Oh.
So that's from Link to the Past.
Yeah,
That,
I remember.
melody?
Oh, yeah, that's when you get the one of the shards or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. One of like the crystal shards. Then, so in like, there's other bosses that aren't glockenspiels. They're like bass guitars or whatever. We play that tune with like that particular instrument.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like even stuff like that, we like change it up like a. And also we get rid of all the enemies at the end. And then it plays the peaceful music, so it's not like the crazy heavy metal soundtrack while you're leaving this area.
Yeah, that makes okay. Nice, and all the enemies are gone, and oh nope, never
Dude, all
mind.
Disney- oh, they're back now.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, congratulations! You just got to do 4 more.
Nice.
Yeah, then the stream will be over. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
Not a minute before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a speed run. This is we're finishing this in 2 hours. I haven't exposed the best glitch. You just have to beat Death Mountain, and then you have to fight beat one of the Lionels, and then there's a glitch that happens where it takes you to the end game. So I actually don't know if that's true.
I do love how Lionels make that comeback, because Lionels were in Zelda 1, if you remember. They were like the super tough enemy that you always avoid. In Breath of the Wild, they're like, we're bringing them back, and it became like the coolest enemies that you can fight.
So did
in my
you?
opinion.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you can answer this question for us, Jeff, but did you guys bring back Lionels before Breath of the Wild did, or without knowledge of Breath of the Wild?
Breath of the Wild was definitely like around
Lionels.
way before we started this game.
There we go. Sorry about that.
I will say we did not bring the Lionels.
Okay, gotcha. Because I figured you guys might have been in development when Breath of the Wild came out, so maybe you guys had like thought to do it before before Breath of the Wild came out. Yeah.
I was playing Breath of the Wild when Breath of the Wild came out. It is one of my favorite Zelda games. I'd say. It's like super up there.
Yeah, it's the most impressive for me for sure. After Cadence of Hyrule.
I really wish that with Breath of the Wild, I mean, like, Nintendo, if you're listening, but I really wish that they had like real dungeons, you know, and hopefully Breath of the Wild 2 does that.
I'm expecting that, to be honest.
Yeah, because Breath of the Wild was mostly the shrines, which are anagrams of the developers' names. Did you know that? Yeah, that's really cool. They're mostly like shrines, which is like one cool mechanic or like one cool trick that you have to discover. And then that was it. And then like the dungeons were really short, like the actual animal dungeons in the game.
Yeah.
I felt that you could beat them, under 30 minutes, a lot of them, or under an hour for sure.
Yeah. That's definitely the case. And I think I'm really expecting Breath of the Wild 2 to be a lot more I don't know, like it'll be more
heavy, maybe?
dungeon heavy, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It was like more of like a classic Zelda form.
Yeah. By the way, what is your favorite? Do you have a favorite game in general?
Favorite video game?
Yeah.
Good question. What
I think we asked this to Kevin too.
Yeah, we'll probably just ask him.
Did Kevin say brothers?
I think he did.
Yeah,
We did talk about brothers.
Yeah. I think he mentioned Brothers, and he said it's probably his. I think he said it's his favorite game, and he was like, "Wait,
I mean,
like,
he
speedrunning." Yeah.
Yeah,
one
he
of the
speedruns
most-
it,
yeah.
so he speedruns it, so he's gotta like it. I think I would have said in any other year I would have said Dark Souls. I'm just like obsessed with that game. I can talk about that game forever. I'm really into like macabre lore. I like the fact that it was a Japanese company trying to make like a European medieval game. Like I thought that was such a cool mashup to do.
That's actually really interesting because I've been watching this anime called Vinland Saga, which is the Japanese anime take on Leif Erikson and the Vikings, and it's like the exact same situation. It's super
Nice,
heavy and
yeah.
dark, and it is very good. But it's such an interesting, like you're watching all this old medieval Viking type situation,
In like anime form.
anime with subs and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so wait, hold on. Before you get to Tingle and hear him snoring, that's me snoring.
Nice.
I'm Tingle in this game.
Did your wife record you while you were actually sleeping, or was it fake snoring?
No, it was definitely fake snoring.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have you heard of that series Berserk? Berserk?
Haven't heard.
It's
what?
an anime. It's called Berserk. Berserk.
I think so. I think I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
It's an old anime. It's been remade a couple of times. Super violent, and it's Japanese manga, Japanese anime, but it's like European medieval setting, and Dark Souls definitely takes influence from that.
Cool.
And I do think that I think Zelda and Dark Souls really share like a lot of the same kind of DNA as well. I read this. I think I read it from like Edge magazine or something a really long time ago about how Miyamoto thought that he was doing and Miyamoto, if you're listening, I'm wrong. Please correct me, Jeff. He was saying that allegedly Zelda was kind of his way of doing a multiplayer game, and the original Zelda, because if you remember that game, you're kind of like thrust into the game with very little direction, and you have like you go into a cave, some old guy gives you a sword, and then you just have to kind of figure out where to go, what to do, with very, very little direction. And what you're supposed to do is like be confused, first of all, and then the next game when you're like at school and you're talking to your buddies and being like, hey, like I'm playing this game Zelda, and if somebody else is also playing Zelda, they can be like, oh, have you like tried going north? That's where I got bombs. And then you're like, oh, cool, I went south and I got the arrows. And it's supposed to be like a communicative type of game in that sense, like a multiplayer game in that respect, where like find things out outside of the game through other people playing. And that's how it's multiplayer. And that's exactly what Dark Souls does with the soapstones in the game, if you've played the game.
And that sounds like Death Stranding now, too.
Oh, Death Stranding does that?
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know, I may have missed something important, but a big component of Death Stranding is that, like, everybody wanders through this same wasteland delivering these packages.
Right.
And they put, like, ropes and ladders and different things to traverse difficult areas, and every other person who plays it experiences those things as they were placed by someone else. So you're making everything you do easier for yourself and also for other people.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. That's the sort of collaboration that I think Miyamoto allegedly, according to that he was kind of like looking for, right? It's a very collaborative way to like play a video game. Multiplayer doesn't necessarily mean like Mario style where you like hand the controller back and forth when you die, or like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles style where it's like co-op, right? Like multiplayer can also mean that kind of collaboration, which I thought was like really, really cool. So that's like, yeah, that's some of the DNA that like Dark Souls and Zelda shares, which I think is really cool. Dark Souls also does like a really good job of making cool, but uncomfortable is like the only way to progress. So, have you guys played Dark Souls at all?
I've only played Bloodborne, and I did not do well.
Dark Souls is like a really cool thing. If you don't mind me like spoiling like the very, very beginning.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of Let's Plays of it and such.
So you do like you're in the beginning tutorial, and then like that giant monster destroys you, and then like you have to destroy that monster before you can get to the real beginning of the game, where you get picked up by like a raven, and you go to Lordred, which is where the entire game takes place. And you first start in Firelink Shrine, which is there's like a guy there. He's like, man, like this place really sucks. I keep on dying. And then you're in front of fire, and then you're kind of like left to your own devices, kind of like in Zelda. And like, where do I go? And the first place that most people go to is at like beside the fire. There's like a cemetery, and you're like, oh, cool. This is like a cemetery. And then you realize that like the cemetery, all the skeletons, not only do they kick your ass, but if you manage to beat one, they just reanimate and they can never die. So you're not supposed to go to the cemetery, even though it looks like you're supposed to go to the cemetery. And then you kind of wander around a little more, and you see an elevator, and you're like, cool, like maybe this elevator. You go down the elevator, and then you end up in New Londo Ruins. New Londo Ruins, there's ghosts. And you can't even hit them, so they're even worse. You can't even like do any damage to them. So you die there, and you're like, I don't know where to go. But where you're actually supposed to go in Dark Souls in this very beginning is you look off into the distance, and you see like a bridge, like the side of a bridge, and you see a tiny, tiny, tiny hole on the side of the bridge. And you're actually supposed to go up to that tiny hole and climb like this little hill, and it's just like a blown out hole in a bridge. It's not like the cemetery, or it's not this elevator where the game kind of tricks you into thinking you're supposed to go there because it seems very obvious. In fact, it makes you feel uncomfortable being like, am I even supposed to be on this bridge at all? But it is the way you're supposed to go.
Huh.
And I found that so cool when playing the game. The game does that so many times. Bloodborne does it too. It just makes you feel uncomfortable, and it makes you believe that the most uncomfortable path is actually the path you're supposed to take.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's interesting. I never considered that. I didn't get super far into Bloodborne. I definitely made it to the wolf boss on that bridge that I apparently can skip. I did not know.
Oh, that's like I think that might be like the first boss, the cleric beast.
pretty sure it is. Yeah, because like I said, I didn't make it very far. The most fun I ever had with Bloodborne is naming my character John Wilkes Booth because of how many people in the game wore top hats.
To get past this part, you need to equip that tingle tip that you got from that puzzle.
Oh, is that? Yeah, I saw that. I thought that I assumed that I was.
So if you're,
does it work like the real Lost Woods in like?
Yes, it does. So it kind of does. So that in the real Lost Woods, you have to follow the music. For this one, you have to use a tingle tuner, and Switch controllers should vibrate when you get close to the west, east, north, or south side of the screen that you're of any given screen that you're at.
Right.
So you know the Lost Woods is like you have to go like north, right, north, east, north, north, east,
Yeah.
south, west,
Yeah, now
whatever. So that's kind of like this, but you don't actually cross over to the next screen, but like use the tingle tuner when you're like near like the north side, and then you can, if it's a strong vibration, that's where you're supposed to go.
Yeah.
If it's a weak vibration, was it a strong one? So now you're in a different screen.
And it resets, right, when you.
Yeah, you have to like. Oh, that seems like you're going the right way now. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually got like three ways in a row. Like,
Oh, really?
I was doing pretty well, so like, I was just guessing.
Is there any enemy crossover between this and Crypt and the Necrodancer? Because that dark skeleton I just saw seemed awfully familiar.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up my documentation of this game. My sound list. See, which I'm not gonna show to anybody.
Only at flip sounds, am I right?
Yeah. I think let's see, let's go to the enemies. I think it's mostly just Zelda.
Okay.
It's mostly Zelda. The only ones that come back are Cadence and Freddy Merchantry. I think that's it.
Ooh, I found a
I
secret.
love that name.
Yeah,
Did
that
you?
name's amazing.
Oh, you sure did. There's that secret you were talking about.
Oh yeah. There you go. So you have to beat that guy in order to unlock the
Whoa! Don't stand in those circles.
yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's like a very useful weapon, isn't it?
That's
Oh,
my
my God.
favorite weapon so far in Crypt is the spear, because anything you can hit over a distance of a whole block is like choice, total money.
Oh yeah.
It makes everything so much better.
So I guess I'd say that maybe
Hey,
Dark Souls is my favorite game.
wow,
Nice.
all right.
Yeah.
There you go.
How about you guys?
Dude, I think it's gotta be Breath of the Wild. I just don't know what has impressed me more or made me like in such awe as much as that game.
Yeah, that game is so immersive. Like Joey, Arup, and I like actual conversations about like if we'd rather live in Kakariko Village or like Akala, like where would we live in Breath of the Wild? Like live with like the Doritos and like that.
Well, dude, it all depends on
Village.
which has the best music, which is obviously Hateno Village.
Yeah, so I think my answer was, and this was after like much thought, like days of thought. I think my answer was I'd stay in Hateno Village because it's near the cliff, and I'd like the view. But I'd buy my vacation home in Rito.
Okay, I can agree with that.
I'd vacation in Rito.
What, in Goron City? That's not good enough for you? What's
No, too hot.
too hot there? It's like it's Goron City is the equivalent of Florida.
Yeah.
And all the people there look just like people from Florida too.
Accurate. Unfortunately accurate. That's
How about you, Chris?
You know, the easy answer is Final Fantasy VII, but the
Yeah.
more
Seven's a good one, man.
it is, and I don't even know how to express the level of excitement I have for March 20th. Like it's just gonna.
Oh, for the remake? Even though it's not like true turn-based?
I don't mind. The turn-based of it is not what carries me today. The way the battle system, it's kind of a hybrid of both, is really exciting, and with like those guys keep impressing me with how they can keep their battle systems fresh. Like FF15 was a ton of fun from a battle system perspective. I loved it. So I'm dying of excitement for that. But otherwise, probably BioShock.
Really?
Yep, and that announcement a couple of weeks ago that 2K they've got a whole new dev studio put together for BioShock, the new BioShock entry. Oh man,
You hyped?
I'm cautious but excited because I know they couldn't just let this go. It's one of the biggest franchises as a publisher, and just because Ken Levine went off to do whatever he decided to do. There's got to be a way to keep it alive. So it's nice that it sounds like the dev team is mostly BioShock people, BioShock 1 and 2 people.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so pumped for it. And before my old roommate moved out, we had a Vive, and I bought a system called Vortex. It's a piece of software that you can use to make non-VR games work in VR. Because I just wanted to wander around in BioShock Infinite and never leave.
Nice.
And I never got a chance to do it, unfortunately, before he left it. But I will at some point. The world of that whole series of games. If I could get in there, I'd never leave it.
Yeah.
The Burial at Sea DLC was so amazing because it was the best the game had ever looked, and it was all the stuff in Rapture with the BioShock Infinite engine and visuals, and just gorgeous. And it was just like, I'm not even paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm just walking around, looking up, pushing my face into my TV as hard as I can.
It's gonna be interesting because if I remember correctly, BioShock 2 were released quite to one another. Within like 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years.
I think so, yeah.
And so BioShock was 2007. I think BioShock 2 was 2009, maybe.
That sounds about right.
And I remember BioShock Infinite being 2013.
Right.
Right. So that's like 3 games released within 5-6 years of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have to wait an additional from BioShock 1 in 2020 right now, and the game's not even going to come out this year. It's probably going to come out maybe next year, let's say.
Yeah, I bet we'll see footage this year, maybe.
So that's 14 years between BioShock 1 and this new BioShock.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think is really interesting is that with the original trilogy, it was made by people within a very short period of time. So they were like game designers, sound designers, animators, whatever, and they were kind of like veterans in the industry or whatever, and they were making these games. But now it's a new team that they've handed the new BioShock game to, and it feels like it might be a young team, right? It might be a team that 14 years ago or 13 years ago this year, they were playing BioShock when they were kids.
Yeah.
Or when they were at least a lot younger, at least 13 years younger than they are now.
Right.
So that's a perspective that we never got with the original trilogy. The original trilogy came so close to one another.
That's true.
Right? That they probably had certain mechanics, sensibilities, design philosophies that were very much of that era. And now you have like this new blood of designers that are making a BioShock game, which is like probably a game that really influenced your childhood.
That's true.
So I'm really excited.
That's a good point. I hadn't even think about that, but that is such a good point. It's like, who better to make the game than people who played it, built their lives off of it.
Yeah, and that's
you know what Sonic Mania did, right?
Yeah.
they actually got like fans, like people that made ROM hacks and stuff to make the level of the game.
Right, yeah.
And it was so good, man.
Yeah,
it was excellent.
It was like, hey, if we want to make what the fans want, let's get the fans to make it.
Well, yeah, especially because it's like, well, Sega team, whoever it is, they've lost their way and they're not finding it. They'll never make themselves make their way home. So
apparently, Breath of the Wild is the same thing. Breath of the Wild is made by.
Can you say it again?
Made by who?
Sorry, Breath of the Wild, same thing.
You said, but
they're not like.
They were made by somebody.
They're not fans or anything. No. But they're made by like the team that made Breath of the Wild. They aren't like people that worked on, Zelda 1 or Zelda 2.
That's true. Yeah, I mean,
they're made by like a fairly young team that grew up having like Zelda all around them since they were like born.
Oh, for sure.
So I definitely don't think it's like a deterrent that it's like a young team making the new BioShock. I'm really excited to see what they'll come up with.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. That's really.
BioShock 2 was good too. A lot of people hated that.
They were wrong to do that.
Yeah,
Bioshock
they're
2
very
was
wrong to do that. I loved it.
It wasn't. It was a separate team, so it's technically not canon, except that it is. It's just not part of the main story. It's like a lateral move. Like while Bioshock 1 and Infinite were happening at the same time, Bioshock 2 was happening over here. It's just another story within Rapture. But
It's
fantastic.
And I love how like Infinite they completely changed like the cinematography and the color palette.
Mm-hmm.
They went like bright and like super positive and like very patriotic.
It's so gorgeous.
Yeah, it's such a. I mean, I haven't played it since it was. I remember being sick when it was released and like being so happy that I was sick because I could just blow through that game.
We're gonna be at Dummel GDC when Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out. I'm gonna have a hard time with that. Yeah.
I don't need to go.
Yeah, just tell me what happened.
So is Final Fantasy VII is a new one? Is it just Midgar?
I think it is. I think there's additional content. Like it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be worth it. Like I don't remember where I heard, but something along the lines of like 20 hours worth of gameplay, but within the confines of Midgar. But it's chapter 1, episode 1.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, it's like episode 1 of who knows how many.
Which is, as long as it keeps actually happening, that's fine with me. But
That's
I don't want
also-
none of that Sonic 4 episode 1 and 2 where, that's
Yeah.
it for us.
That's also a big question mark. Is like, are they gonna keep it up? Right? Because like if it took them this long to make episode 1, I think it's just like that. Like a very small portion of the game is just Midgar, right? So like they probably have to make a ton of episodes to tell the whole story.
Yeah, I would love to know what the plan is going forward for this, because for years and years and years. So that would be a project. We could never do that. And then they finally announced it, and it's like, people talk about how they're just saying that. They're just saying that. Like, they probably aren't just saying that, but they probably work themselves into a position, technologically or otherwise, where it is feasible now. But and I think maybe a big part of the timeline that isn't necessarily going to be problematic going forward is that now they have all of these assets created with like characters and environments, and now they don't have to really do that from scratch. But I'm not sure.
Battle system's already in place. Oh, you're fighting Shadow Link.
Because I was thinking that's the direction that the problem with Polyphony Digital in terms of using Gran Turismo, how every game just got further and further and further apart.
Right.
Because then 5, my friend and I, when we were waiting for 5 to come out for years and years and years, and it kept getting pushed back, it was like, it became a running joke for us. Like, oh, I'll do that when GT5 comes out, and then we just have a laugh about it. But, and then 6 came out, and that was the only Gran Turismo for PS3. And now PS4 got Gran Turismo Sport, and apparently that's going to be it for this. And I have no idea what they're doing. Now what do we got? 6 years of PlayStation 4, PS5 will be out this year, next year.
Right.
They basically would almost be skipping this whole generation working on whatever it is, and they only make one game.
Right.
I don't know what the future looks like for them making these games the way they do.
I'm very happy that the new consoles are going to be like apparently fully backwards compatible.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Like I'd be like I just don't have any space to like, and my backlog spans as far back as like 2015. So like I don't want to have to keep a PS4 out and an Xbox One out. I'd rather just have 1 or 2 consoles to display enough.
As much of a PlayStation fanboy I've been for such a long time. What?
We're about like 2 hours in. How are you feeling, Jeff?
Yeah.
Oh, I do. Oh wow, that time really fly.
Yeah.
Good.
That's what happens when I'm finally crushing it in Cadence.
I know you're already in like the second dungeon and stuff.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly does. Well, yeah, I probably have to get going because this is still a work day in Vancouver for me.
Oh, true.
So,
it's the best job in the world, then, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is.
That's the takeaway, really, from all of this. This is the best job in the world.
Yeah.
Right. That was a lot of fun. It was really cool.
No, I mean, I wish I had played this more before I actually got hopped on, but I'm glad that we could play this game with you. I mean, it's been an honor, honestly.
Yeah, great time.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime you guys want, just to like be on the stream or anything, I'd be totally down for it, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
We'll definitely hit you up sometime again to like maybe join the podcast or or do another Cadence stream. Maybe we'll finish Cadence with Jeff. And we'll
Yeah,
make it
finish
a-
Cadence.
or stream something he had nothing to do with, and just
sure,
stream games together.
sure.
That would also be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, Jeff. Do you want to plug anything before we head off here, or?
No. Not
Okay.
really.
Well, follow this for me then. Go follow Power Up Audio on Twitter, and
Yes.
go check out Real Talk on Thursdays on their Twitch.
Yeah, let's do that. Because that I think is like really good for that's like
That's kind of in our wheelhouse, Blip Sound's wheelhouse, in terms of like community and feedback and all of that. So
yeah, we do every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, or at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Sorry, we do on twitch.tv/powerupaudio. We do Real Talk with Kevin Rigby, who's my business partner, and he just you can submit your audio reel to him, and he'll basically just tell you what works for him, what doesn't work, what employers are looking for, and basically just tries to get you a job.
It's really good. Yeah, I got on my list of things to do here is make a demo reel for both Blip Sounds and myself separately, and I had no idea where to start. And
Mhm.
watching like 4 or 5 episodes of Real Talk, it's like I got it. This is great. And he even has a lot of neat tips, like they said earlier about the real talk I watched, where he was giving tips on how to make sure you're accounting for your unseen environment and sound design. Like that's not a portfolio tip. That's just a straight sound design tip from somebody as good as him. So it's really worth watching every time.
If you're remotely interested in sound design, thinking about getting the vast majority of real.
Do you mind saying that again, Jeff? You cut out for a minute.
Yeah, you
Sorry,
cut out
Kevin actually archives on our Twitch channel. He archives a lot of the Real Talk
Mhm.
episodes. So if you can't make it on Thursday at 4 p.m., then you can go right now and just check it out and see if that's for you.
Yeah, they're all there. It's awesome.
Cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Go check out Real Talk because Kevin's feedback is invaluable, to say the least. But yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks
Jeff,
for
for
that.
real. Thank you so
Good
much,
time.
man. Really appreciate it. And
Chris, nice meeting you.
You too. I'll see you at GDC.
See you at GDC. And Ryan, I'm looking forward to play Destiny.
you actually cut out there one more time.
We gotta play Destiny.
Oh, dude, yeah. Okay. I actually have it. Let's play it.
Nice.
Next week.
Yeah.
Or no, next week I'm at PAX. When I get back from PAX, we'll play.
All right, sounds good, guys.
Okay. See you
See
guys.
you later.
Bye bye.